everyone, and welcome. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming full moon that we have in the sign of Aries on the 29th of September 2023. This full moon takes place at around 6 degrees of the sign of Aries, which means that the sun illuminates it from 6 degrees of the sign of Libra, Aries' opposite house. Now, this full moon does not hold any major aspects with other power players, but at the same time, there are so very many important and quite precise aspects, which, even though don't speak with the full moon, are still going to influence us quite strongly in so very many ways that you'll find later on in this horoscope. And also, what needs to be mentioned is that this is still a super full moon. Now, remember back when we had the Pisces super full moon, that was the strongest this year. Now, even though the moon did distance itself a little bit from the Earth, because a super full moon means that the moon is that much closer to the Earth, it's still a super full moon, so its effects are amplified, so to speak. On one hand, there are the physical effects where the moon does pull on the tides, on the tectonic plates, that much stronger. So, we must put this into context because Aries is a fire sign. It is explosive. And also a planet which has a lot to do with sudden outbursts of power or extreme weather phenomenon. Uranus does hold a quincunx quite precisely with the ruler of this full moon, Mars, and that means volatility, that means surprises, that means a very quick, unexpected outbursts of power, of emotion, of something that might influence us, that might, impact us, that might, kind of conjure up a reaction from us, either individually or, of course, collectively. Now, another element which needs to be taken into consideration is that the time of this full moon, Black Moon Lilith, a very strong, impulsive, and instinctual energy, very correlated to the sign of Aries, the expression of Aries. Well, she is in the sign of Leo at an erratic position. Now, I know that Black Moon Lilith is not a planet, yet still her effects are quite powerful, especially in an erratic degree. Leo rules the heart and the heart center, so a lot of emotions and a lot of emotional outbursts do come from there. So this means that one way or another, we are already at the edge. And another energy to complement this, but perhaps not in the most favorable sense, is that Venus rules Libra, where the sun is. So, indirectly, she does have some things to do with this full moon. So Venus holds a square quite precisely to the degree with Uranus. So this also means that our pleasure centers, Venus, and how our hearts, Venus and Leo, perceive that pleasure are going to be triggered by Uranus. Now, of course, individually speaking, this can mean just surprises, the unexpected. This can mean unusual occurrences. For example, meeting new people, being attracted to new people, a sudden change in our finances, the financial flow, a sudden change of our own awareness with our worth and value that exists in our lives. Now, all of these, why not? These can have very positive expressions where the square plays out as the shock, the unexpected, us needing to take a step outside of our comfort zone or react to something, deal with something in a way that we're simply not used to. But that is not a big problem because we can tap into our inner Uranus, our inner ingenuity, and just react accordingly. But collectively speaking, well, Venus and Uranus square, and in such a precise manner, These does represent economic instability, up and down, chaos. Uranus is the planet of chaos. So also Venus at the time of the square and also the full moon is conjunct Juno, the asteroid of partnerships. So this is where certain financial partnerships or partnerships in our lives which have something to do with value, with money, with security, with stability, can experience, ups and downs, disruptions, sudden endings, or sudden completions, but in a sense where Uranus, some alliances are born out of necessity, and some alliances are totally unusual, but it is the necessity, what it ever brings a solution to, that sanctifies this, if this makes sense. So one way this aspect can create certain unusual alliances, attractions, partnerships, but on the other hand, it can very suddenly terminate existing ones. But this can also have something to do, individually speaking, with this Venus retrograde theme playing out in our lives, because Venus is not yet out of shadow. So this is something that can build on the Venus retrograde theme in our lives. Depending on where these planets, where these angles, where these degrees fall into your personal chart. And if you don't know how to interpret this, well, I have a specially created tutorial video to teach you how to interpret your own chart. I'm going to link to this below. So if you'd like, just check it out. Now, with this being said, I'm going to share my screen. And here you can see the full moon in the sign of Libra. The full moon in the sign of Aries, the sun being in Libra, illuminating the moon in Aries. Now, as I said earlier, whatever adds to the intensity of this energy is also that both the sun and moon are in the same signs where the transiting nodal axis is. South node is in Libra, and as you can see on the screen, very, very close to Mars, the ruler of this new moon. Sorry, full moon, the ruler of the full moon, Aries, where the south node is. The north node is, sorry. And the north node, let me just show you, is conjunct dwarf planet Aries to the degree. Very, very tight conjunction. Only 1 minute apart between them. Now, of course, this is the true north node, not the mean north node, but even the mean north node is very close here. So the Aries and north node conjunction in Aries just guarantees that the energy is going to be volatile, sometimes assertive, sometimes aggressive, sometimes chaotic in a sense of sudden uprising, sudden rebellion, people demanding their rights, people demanding their sovereignty and sovereign wills to be respected. But this is much more about the collective expression of this energy. Individually speaking, well, even though we do have a degree of control over our reaction or what we dish out, because we must not forget Aries is still the sign of the warrior, spiritual warrior, the sign of the justicer. I'm not sure how to pronounce this word in English, basically self-righteousness, where one takes justice in their own hands. Aries is very impulsive, initiatory. Aries does not shy away from a struggle, from a fight, from assertion. So individually speaking, it can be quite assertive as well. But Aries is also the sign of bravery, of courage, of, leaping into the battle, leap of faith, etc. So there, all of that can turn into something quite positive, especially, the symbolism of Aries. The chances are against you. Something is against you. You're outnumbered. Not individually speaking, I'm definitely not referring to a real fight where you against a number of people. The chances, the circumstances, fate herself, the setup of your life, does not give you a lot of chances to triumph or succeed in a project, in something personal. Again, where does this fall in your personal chart? That is where this full moon can come into play and give you the impulse, give you the courage, the strength, the initiation to succeed. But even individually, we can very well react to look the Venus and Juno conjunction, and both of these planets squaring Uranus. These being at 22 degree of Leo, Uranus being at 22 degree of Taurus, a very tight square. But individually speaking, as I said, this can be quite a pleasant surprise, because this square with Venus is for the third and final time in this context. So what did the Venus retrograde season, speak to you about in your life? What has been, crystallizing in your heart and your heart space? Is it something that you kind of had to admit to yourself that you love, you cannot live without, you want to have in your life, you want to feel and experience? Uranus and Taurus can also be the five senses. Your five senses are screaming at you that you need that some specific experience. Is it something to do with money, with value, with worth? Because, Venus in the sign of Leo is creativity, self-expression, where you want to be in life, and the feeling of the love of that. And the Uranus in the sign of Taurus is basically your financial situation, your self-worth, your values in your life. And Uranus many times highlights a skill, a talent, something hidden, something that you were unaware of. Is it where you are readying yourself to embrace a talent, to embrace something in your life that you simply need to have, and this is where you find the resources, this is where you find the means to express it, to execute it? Or is this energy of a totally different nature in your life? It can be about a relationship, a partnership. That partnership doesn't need to be, very classical. It can be with a job, with a company, with an institution, with your living condition, any kind of one-on-one alliance or contract. This is where, are you ready to break that up, to terminate it, to move out of it? Or quite the contrary, are you preparing to commit to something, to sign a contract, to invest into something? Because Venus with Uranus in Taurus can actually be a risky investment, or where you put your value into your money, your birth, your time, your effort. Where are you investing it into something that before the Venus retrograde, so early summer, June, July, even before that, you did not feel the security, you did not have all the reasons to go forward with your investment, to go forward with this step. And now this Venus retrograde has offered you a different kind of analysis of the situation. So this is where you need to consult your own heart, because by now it has all the answers. But because of this Venus and Juno conjunction squaring Uranus, this might be one way that this full moon plays out. You get the impulse, you get the initiation, you get the clarity, you get the personal truth of what to do with anything of this nature that I mentioned earlier. Another aspect that is at the time of this full moon is that Mercury trines Uranus. It's not perfect, but it's quite a tight trine. And Uranus is Mercury's higher octave, an Earth trine. Again, breakthrough, initiative, the best possible idea that problem solves even. And even this energy, the Mercury-Uranus trine, is building itself on the larger Mercury retrograde season that has ended, and Mercury is navigating out of his shadow path. So again, what has this Mercury retrograde theme been in your life personally? In Virgo, what problems did arise from the past that you needed to find solutions to? What project, what lucrative purposes have you been guided to improve, to solve, etc.? Or what kind of health issues, Virgo, were you guided to try and fix, try and improve, try and better by, maybe removing bad habits, bad customs, bad rituals from your daily routine and introducing new ones, healthier ones? This is where this Mercury and Uranus trine can represent an idea or a flash of insight or an inner epiphany, or using your intellect to solve a problem that is working, that is providing you benefits, that is changing your life for the better. Now, another energy that I would like to speak about is the Mars and Uranus in conjunction, the quincunx. Very, very volatile. Mars in the sign of Libra, partnerships, alliances, contracts, etc. Very close to the south node, the south node being at 24 degrees of Libra. This Mars is 21 degrees, so a conjunction. Mars is also the activator. Mars is also on the via combusta, 15 degrees from Libra to 15 degrees of Scorpio is what we call the path of fire, path of combustion. So that means we're almost forced to pay attention to alliances, partnership, diplomacy, justice, and equilibrium in our lives. This is where we're preparing to make important choices, important decisions, to change contracts, to change alliances, to negotiate. North Node in Aries is what we need for the forward movement, forward path, especially that Aries is the head. So it's truly where we guide the integrity of our lives and being. South Node in Libra is others or anything else in our lives that needs to be in balance with our own will. Our own will at the same time needs to be in balance, whatever partnerships, contracts, and the general sense of justice and law have to dish to the table. So it's an energy where we'll need to analyze very, very delicately what balance is and make the right choices for ourselves. But at the same time, as I said, that might require negotiation and to integrate what others, may that be a person, a life partner, any kind of partner, associate, best friend even, institution, or who we have the one-on-one contract with, what those bring in our lives, we need to integrate that. We need to adapt ourselves to that as well. Otherwise, it's a fight. Otherwise, it's a struggle. Otherwise, it's, two wills going against each other. Either physically on the world stage, where it will play out without shadow of a doubt, or legally in a court of justice. So this is where it kind of begins. Now, the biggest picture, the biggest nuance of energy that we cannot ignore is at this time still, Pluto is squaring both the south node and the north node. So powerful transformation, a transformation that we cannot get out from. A transformation does not occur sometimes it does, but in this sense it doesn't. It takes quite a lot of time. It is gradual, progressive. So we can not just, snap our fingers and say, I had enough of this painful transformation or uncomfortable transformation or stressful, etc., etc. I want to get, no, we cannot get out. We need to stay with ourselves and see this through by embracing wherever our power lies. What does this transiting Pluto show us? Where does our power lie? Where does this 27 degree of Capricorn fall into your own personal chart? That is where the power lies in the moment, and we need to claim it back, and we need to embrace it, embody it, and use it wisely. But that means that it's not an easy energy. Getting to where we need to get North Node in Aries conjunct Aries is not an easy energy with Pluto squaring them, because this means an ongoing struggle and ongoing need to make sure that we keep our attention where it's most needed. So that means no break. And quite soon after this full moon, Mars will conjunct the south node, and it will perfect its square with Pluto. Pluto and Mars are each other's octaves, Pluto being the higher octave. Both of these planets co-rule the sign of Scorpio. So this can be assertive, this can be delicate, this can be, sometimes quite militaristic in the world stage especially. But this energy, this is where we don't know where it's leading. Quincunx with Uranus. The future or the outcome is totally under a shroud of mystery. Expect the unexpected. So this can lead to a certain kind of peace. Mars conjunct South Node. This is where, in order to make progress, sometimes old conflicts, old, injustices, and the way we dwell on it have to be left, into the void of the past. So sometimes Mars conjunct the North-South node in Libra can very well represent peace. It might not be the classical exception of peace in the sense that it's really forced, it's a necessity, it's where the situation demands it, not the kindness of the heart, but it's a problem-solving expression. It solves a problem. But at the same time, this can play out the opposite way, where it can mean the escalation, the heating up of an existing conflict. So this is where we will be able to see very strong violent outbursts out there in the world, especially within a country, within a culture, like an uprising of people with Aries. But at the same time, we can see either an escalation of a diplomatic conflict existing in the world out there, or we can see the stop of that in a forced way, but stop. Peace is still peace, if you know what I mean. Pallas Athena, asteroid of tactics and wisdom, is also conjunct the sun, so quite combust. Pallas Athena can represent the wisdom, can represent where what the conflict means doesn't matter. The necessity of peace, the tactical power of the peace or the stopping of the conflict is what truly matters. So I really, really like that Pallas Athena is conjunct the sun in Libra, because she gives, as I said, the power of wisdom. Libra can represent a very difficult or impossible choice and decision. Pallas Athena brings the wisdom to the table, and wisdom makes the choice not as difficult. It makes things that need to be crystal clear being taken into account. And the full moon is illuminating something in our lives, individually or collectively, that needs to be very, very crystal clear. What else would I like to speak about? Oh, yes. This full moon also holds a T-square, quite a tight T-square with dwarf planet Quaoar. So moon at 6th degree of Aries, sun at 6th degree of Libra, Quaoar 6th degree of Capricorn. And Quaoar is conjunct an asteroid named Pholus. Now, Pholus is very similar to Chiron. It doesn't necessarily represent a classic case of wounding. It represents more like self-wounding, where the wounding might have occurred out of ignorance, negligence, or a dangerous curiosity. Pholus in mythology was a centaur, but not a savage one. It was a very emancipated, very, how should I say, noble centaur, just like Chiron, not as divine as Chiron, but still very, very respected, still an embodiment of wisdom, an embodiment of peace, very, very benevolent centaur who lived in a cave, and he had a lot to do with the legend of Heracles. So this Pholus conjunct Valar can represent, especially in the sign of Capricorn, where we overdo it. You know what I mean? So this T-square does require a lot of balance, and for us to contain our impulses, and for us to go with the flow, not to make the impulsiveness of this energy upset our own timing. So Pholus represents here that we really, really need to be careful with where our curiosities take us or where our impulses take us. Over following it, Quawar, is advised, but in a very wise and diligent way, Palestina. Overdoing it or diving into curiosity is not as advised. Now, Quawar is a creational deity. So Quawar is the symbol of the divine masculine creativity. It is quite powerful. It is quite assertive. Even the legend of Quawar, well, he succeeded a very tyrant creational deity. So Quawar is, the embodiment of the gentleness of the divine masculine. But still with this Pholus, this is where the gentleness can lead to, how should I say, the road to hell many times is paved with good intention. So this energy needs a lot of equilibrium and balance and wisdom, because impulsiveness does not get us into the right setup, into the right scenario, into the right crowd. So we really, really need to be careful not to turn this energy into something way too impulsive, way too assertive, or to make a decision or choice where there's no going back. We need to be careful with that. Now, another aspect that I would like to speak about is the Sabian symbol of this 6-7 degree of Aries. It says a man successfully expressing himself in two realms at the same time. Now, this immediately conjures up the duality of it. At the same time, it's not exclusive. The effects of this full moon can express itself in two, realms, two dimensions, two possible expressions at the same time. So this is where we need to be very, very aware. We really, really need to be in, as much as we can, in control of where we will put or we will allow our attention to go. Because immersing into just one aspect might not really do all that much good. And what I mean by this is, we just decide that we block out the world, we block out the collective, we focus on our individual lives, and that is where the energy of the full moon will play out and the story. Chances are this won't be the case, because both the personal, individual expression, but also the collective expression will impact us at the same time. So we really, really need to be aware, we need to be diligent, and we need to embrace a lot of self-control, because how we react to certain external stimuli is also very, very determining. So this is where we have to expect changes and impulsivity from both sides, both fronts, so to speak. Both our individual lives, where I said about the potential manifestation, what does that Venus retrograde do for you? The Mercury retrograde, where even though these retrogrades are over, but both of these planets are still navigating out of their shadow paths. So, the wrap up. How do we react to that, and what is happening in our lives in that sense? But then there is the collective one, and that doesn't really depend on us. What is the collective Venus retrograde, the financial instability, the financial upheaval? What is that going to do for us? And this isn't just negative, this is dual. It can have quite a strong positive expression of it. Why? Financial instability means that there are chances, opportunities, deals, openings, opportunities that otherwise at any other time are impossible. Upheaval means that it also brings that which is very, very rare to be possible at this time. For example, one person loses their home due to financial instability and the bank very quickly, grabbing it. But the bank needs to pass it on. So opportunity, a man's loss will be another man's treasure. So this is how karma can complicate our lives. So at this full moon, we need to pay close attention because there might be financial or otherwise opportunity, job openings, etc., out there, which in usual or normal circumstances, let's say, are not out there ever. They're hidden. They're, under a shroud of mystery. At this time, if we pay close attention, we might identify those opportunities. This is one expression, but the negative expression, as I said, instability, chaos, you don't know what to do, nothing is reliable, nothing represents stability anymore. You don't know where to seek a certain kind of, groundedness, especially financially speaking, or in anything that has to do with Taurus, happiness, sensuality, five senses, a sense of being alive, but on your own terms, of course. Serotonin. So all of those things might be totally in chaos. And the other energy is Mercury trining Uranus. Sometimes solutions, sometimes blessings, sometimes the best idea, the best alliances, the best, professionals many times come unexpectedly from somewhere or from a certain kind of a social background where we would never ever expect them from. So this is where we really, really need to go with the flow and see and adapt ourselves accordingly. And at the same time, another thing that we do need to strongly take into consideration is that we need to negotiate. Libra, full moon, but that negotiation must not be, violent, or how should I say it, we mustn't allow our instinctual aggression, because Aries is a very, very instinctual energy with Black Moon Lilith and Heretic in Leo. Aries conjunct the North Node in Aries. That's a very, very strong instinctual energy. We must not allow that, the inner animal, to overdo its expression in that sense. So thank you, everyone. I would like to leave it at this. I do hope that this helped you and you found it useful. If you'd like to support me and my channel, you can donate in the PayPal link in the description below. And at the same time, if you'd like to know what all of this means for you personally, check out my tutorial video. Wishing everyone a blessed full moon. Until next time, bye for now.